Hello, everybody. This is Kxo Radio AM 1230 in Imperial Valley. And once again, we've got Mickey Dale here for a high school football preview. Take it
Hi,
away.
Kurt. How's it going?
It's going good, Mickey. Did you have a good week?
Yeah, real good week. Seems like every week's a short week. We plan this on Wednesdays, and 2 days later it's Friday, and then it seems a couple of days later it's Wednesday again. So 4 weeks is 4 weeks.
Well, that's kind of the curse of our gray hair, I think, Mickey.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Okay, well, give us something to look forward to, please.
Well, last week Imperial looked very good again. George and I were up in the booth to watch them play. They went against Vincent Memorial. We went to their championship game in Division 5 last year before losing to Sweetwater, a school that's probably 6 or 7 or 8 times larger than Vincent Memorial. So we expected a really good game. Unfortunately, for Vincent Memorial, they lost the quarterback they used in their opening week win, and that was Jose Luis Wong, did not play in the game the other night. So their running back, Roberto Carranza, was their quarterback. So their offense wasn't working on all cylinders like they normally do, and you could kind of see that that's how the tone of the game went. The Imperial started out really strong offensively. Their defense was stout, as it usually is, and it was a big 32-7 win for Imperial.
Very good. Very good. Well, it was a fun game to listen to.
Thank you. Yeah, we enjoyed covering it. It was kind of interesting that Imperial got the ball on their first possession, went right down the field and scored, missed the extra point, hit the upright, and it was 6-0. And then Vincent got the ball. They went right down and scored, got the extra point. They're leading 7-6. And I thought, well, we got a small game now. But then it became pretty one-sided, and Imperial pulled it out. Jaden Ayala, quarterback, very secure with the quarterbacking position again this year. Near perfect to start out the game. He completed 9 of 10 passes for 123 yards, I think, up to that point. Had 176 unofficially in the game, completing 13 of 19. 2 more touchdown passes, so he now has 5 on the season. So he looked very good at quarterback. And Anthony Helm Jr., another freshman, it's going to be another star at Imperial. He got his first varsity touchdown reception in the ball game. And that's always exciting to see when a young man gets that very first one. So that's always very cool. And then Mario Gaxiola, a sparkling 40-yard touchdown reception for the Tigers as well. So that was the 2 on there. And then rushing, we had, again, another freshman, Darren Wessel. The week before, we talked about the screen pass that he took 70 yards for a touchdown. This time it's a run, 71 yards on a run for the touchdown, reversing field and then scoring. It was a very exciting run. And then scored another touchdown on top of that as well. And so that was pretty exciting to watch Darren again come up with another couple of touchdowns for the Tigers, and they resulted in a 32-7 win. One more note on defense: the other touchdown of the game was on defense. As I'm trying to think of who it was for the Tigers. Robert Cortez it was that had the touchdown on the interception for the touchdown, and that was always exciting to see a defensive player that will come up and get the touchdown and then go into the score. Probably going to be he ever had, as there was nobody on that side. I'm not sure he was even expecting to see the football come his way, but he was able to make the Adrian Cortez, my apology on his first name. But then he was wide open for it, took it, brought it in for about 20, 25 yards for the touchdown. And that for a defensive player is always very exciting. So that was very cool for the Tigers to come up with the touchdowns that way. Defense solid once again, gave up the 1 touchdown. And that was the one bright light for Vincent Memorial. As I mentioned, Roberto Carranza is normally a running back for them, their top running back, or one of their top 2 or 3 running backs. And he was pressed into duty at quarterback, and he scored on a 62-yard touchdown run and really showed his speed in that. It's going to be interesting to see what that young man does throughout the season. So final score 32-7 for the Tigers. They're 2-0 on the year now, and they head to Cibola over in Yuma on Friday night, where the Tigers have been pretty much their way the last few years. They've won 5 of the last 6 meetings, including the last 3 in a row, and the last 2 were by scores of 43-0, and last year 44-0. So it's been pretty one-sided the last couple of years, but they've got a new head coach at Cibola. It's Caleb Gillespie, who was a freshman coach just a few years ago, moved his way up as an assistant, and now is the head coach there. So the Raiders are in their second home game. They lost to Dobson of Mesa, Arizona last week, 24-7. And so they'll be looking for their first victory to hand to their new head coach. So it'll be interesting to watch that. So we'll be on the air again on Friday night, 6:45 on KXORadio.com. So hope everybody can tune in to listen to that.
Mickey, am I the only one who's calling Hueso lightning?
It seems like when he touches the ball, exciting things can happen. And I mentioned the first game, I told George, I said, it's kind of like lightning in a bottle. You have no idea. He's so quick. And it kind of reminds us of his brother Brandon, who did just an outstanding job with the Tigers right after the Royce Freeman era. And his brother Brandon, who also wore number 2 as well. So it kind of reminds us of it that way. But he gained over 4,500 yards in his career at Imperial, 45 touchdowns, and was just every time he was out there, he was a tough runner. One person's not going to bring him down. He can move, shift left and right, and then turn upfield, and then turn the jets on for speed. He is an exciting young man to watch, is Darren Wesson.
And certainly worth traveling to Yuma to watch him Friday night.
It's not that far away, It's just an hour's drive. It's on the west side of Yuma, and it's always an exciting one to play there. It's against the Raiders, the gold and black team of the Raiders, and the home fans there make a lot of noise. And there's been some very big games years, and it should be an exciting one over there on Friday night.
Very good. All right, Mickey, what else you got for us?
Well, Central came up with a big win last week, and it was one that was very close. I thought it would be a lot larger victory margin for the Tigers, but for the Spartans, they would score with 5:19 to go in the game. Nico Viescas would score a rushing touchdown with less than 5.5 minutes to go, and the Spartans pulled out a 20-14 victory at Palm Desert. Now they get to come back home. They play 2 away games. Now they come back home this week. Not going to be an easy task, but they're playing against the Ramona Bulldogs. Ramona's got a fine program up in San County, so that will be coming up on Friday night, and Ramona's coming off a big 41-9 victory over Vista last week. So it's going to be a tough for the Spartans, but I'm glad to see that Ricky Pena schedules tough teams in the preseason, meaning before the IVL leagues. I think that helps them when they get into the IVL. They play some very, very good schools.
Well, he's kind of taking a page off of the Brawley book, I think.
Right, and I remember growing up in Imperial, John Tyree was the head coach there at that time, back in the 1970s or something like that. And he always scheduled, we were in the smaller division called the Chaparral League now, but he wanted to go against the larger division. It was the Desert Valleys League back then, and would play Brawley and Indio and Coachella and a lot of larger schools. Calexico was a much larger school than Imperial back then. And he scheduled those teams so when it came into league, Imperial was way ahead of the other league teams and won the championships all 4 years that I was there in high school. And so I think that when you play the tougher schools, I think it comes to fruition later on. We have the league games that are coming up. And Central this week will be at home against Ramona. That game is going to be live on KXO Radio. And Carol Buckley and John Driftle will be at Mike's side on that. They'll be on at 6:45 on Friday night as well. So you've got 2 games to listen to that you can enjoy. You've got the game over in Yuma with Cibola and Imperial, and then Central will be at home against Ramona on Friday night. So 2 good ones there. Southwest, they're still trying to get their offense untracked. They lost to Banning 63-0 last Friday, and they will host Coastal Academy of Oceanside. First time these 2 teams have ever met, as far as I know. And so that'll be kind of interesting there. And it's the Eagles and the Stingrays. 10 games since the late 70s. I've never done a game with the Stingrays in it. So that's going to be kind of interesting for Southwest on Friday night, traveling up, or actually getting home from the Oceanside-based Coastal Academy High School up there. And the one other IVL team that was in action on Friday night was the Calexico Bulldogs, and they were impressive once again. They're now 2-0 in the season. They dominated Castle Park in Chula Vista 35-7 last week. Quarterback Bobby Manahano passed for 100 yards and rushed for 107 yards. You talk about dual purpose there. There you go with Bobby Manahano. And after 2 road wins, the Bulldogs will have their home opener. It'll be on Saturday and they'll be hosting Cetis of Mexicali. So for those of you fans that come out on Friday night to watch the games, you can come up to Kxo on Saturday and watch the Bulldogs host the Cetis Zoros. So that'll be an interesting one there. And after a week off, probably Wildcats are back in action Friday. They will be in San Diego, and they will face Canyon Hills. So that's the other team amongst the IDL. And some big games in the Desert League as well. And one young man in Calipatria was really lighting up the scoreboard. We talked a little bit about him last week, and that's Dominic Hawk. He came up with another big one this last week as the Hornets defeated Desert Mirage High School 65-12. The Hornets led 56-6 at the half, and then came up with a huge victory of 62-6. And in that one, Dominic Hawk has been playing at quarterback, one of the players that the San Diego Union Tribune listed as a watch player. I mean, they'll put a lot of players on that before the season starts, so you kind of keep an eye on them and see how they do throughout the season. And he's one of the Valley players. There's about a half dozen in the Valley that were on that list, and he was one to watch. And man, he has really lit it up in the first couple of games. He had a monster night last Friday night, gaining 356 yards rushing and scoring 7 touchdowns. He also threw for 46-yard touchdown pass to Aiden Zambrano and rushed for 4 touchdowns and scored on a kickoff return in the opening season win over Desert Christian Academy. So he scored 11 touchdowns on his own so far this season in 2 games. So certainly one to watch. The Hornets will be on the road for their 3rd consecutive week, heading to San Diego to face Pocono Charter on Friday, and then they'll have their home opener against Tri-City Christian next Friday. So another player and team to go watch. If you want to go out on a Friday night, you can go up to Calipatria and watch them play a week from Friday. Take your smartphone and you can listen to us. We'll be on the air in Fallbrook next week, but you can do that and watch the ball game there, and we can make it exciting for you on one side, and you'll be watching an exciting one in front of you. A couple other teams that were in action. Hopeville, they continued their winning ways. They were impressive. You know, we mentioned last week in our talk that they were going to be playing at Mission Bay, and the Buccaneers are always tough at home. The Vikings just dismantled them. They defeated them 46-7 in that game last Friday. Hector Sanchez and Enrique Armas combined for 295 yards rushing and a trio of touchdowns to face the Vikings. And they'll be resurrecting an old foe from the old Desert Mountain League, and that is Mountain Empire up in Pine Valley. If you're heading on the way to San Diego, just before you get to Buckman Springs Rest Area, just before that, if you look to the west, you can see Mountain Empire High School and the football field there, and they'll be playing on Friday night. So it'll be interesting to see how they do up there. You know, a few years ago, the month of October is apple season in Julian, and so you've got to go get some apple pie somewhere. Well, my son Jonathan Luke from Kansas now is doing the games with me at that time, and we had to sit at the top of the grandstands on the home side to call the game. And as we were doing it, and we saw people bringing these big old mountains of apple pie with whipped cream all over and everything, and we just kind of said, man, that looks really good to try. Well, one of the fans, I guess, overheard us and brought it to us. So every commercial break or every chance that one of us talked and the other didn't, we were eating up the pie. So we had a big time up at Mountain Empire when Imperial played up there years ago. But it'll be Hopeville and Mountain Empire on Friday night, and kind of bring back some of the old memories of the Desert Mountain League.
Well, the beauty of high school football, and I'm wanting my Axe game tickets right now. That promises to be the game of the century.
It is. I think it's going to be. Dominic Hawk, like I said, is just playing lights out at Calipatria. And Tony Lowen is their new coach. Came in last year with him. You could see them improve as the season went on. And now they open up 2-0, and they're just playing gangbusters right now. Really glad to see that up there.
Well, we need to get all these players healthy before we hit the playoffs. And it's just a great year for football in Imperial Valley.
It really is. And most of the local teams are just doing outstanding and playing well against tougher schools. Like I said, Central and Palm Desert last week, not past Palm Desert. It's always difficult the Aztecs up at their home stadium. And then now playing Ramona, a tough goal on Friday night. And Raleigh back in action. They're playing a tough team in San Diego against Canyon Hills. And then Imperial at Cibola. They've had some good battles over the years. So it'll be an interesting week. Looking forward to it.
Well, Mickey, I want to thank you. Everybody, you can catch these games, both these games, Central and Ramona, wasn't it? Ramona? Central and Ramona?
Central and Ramona, right. Yeah, they'll be at Kxo Steele on Friday night.
And Mickey's game on Friday night on KXORadio.com. So, hey, let's have a fun weekend, everybody.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, we are too. Thanks, Mickey.